Move her out. Now. Cunnell's voice cracked like Harmatandri thunder inside the private jet, a sound that made even the flight attendant pause with her polished smile. He didn't look at me. Didn't need to. Just flicked 2 fingers as if shooing a fly. The cabin smelled of leather, cold air, and new money. I stood in the doorway with Timmy's blue backpack pressed tight to my chest, my fingers wrapped around his inhaler like a small promise. "Sir, we're closing the door," the captain called from the cockpit. "We have to push." "She's not coming," Cunnell said, sliding into his seat. "Single mothers should know their place. This is a family trip." Family. The word stung like pepper in an eye. Beside him, Kemi. Gleaming lip gloss, champagne gelly, designer tracksuit. Patted his arm and tilted her sunglasses down just enough to look at me. The look said, "You lost." The look said, "Take your shame and go." Around them, pale gold cabin lights glowed on silver buckles and a basket of warm towels. Not one face belonged to me. "Mummy, are you coming?" Timmy asked from the aisle seat, hands gripping the armrests. He was 7, brave and trying not to cry. Beads of sweat already dotted his temple in the warm Lagos morning. "I'll follow the next flight, my love," I said, careful to keep my voice soft. "Remember the breathing tricks. Slow like you're blowing birthday candles. The inhaler," I added, turning to Cunnell. "Please, leave it with him." Cunnell snatched the backpack from my arms, yanked the zipper, and tossed the inhaler into the seat pocket as if it were a toy. "There. Happy?" Then, for the benefit of the crew and his new fiancée, he softened his tone. "Timmy is safe with his father." My cheeks burned. I remembered when that word, father, had been a place I could rest. Before the late nights labeled site inspections. Before the perfume that wasn't mine. Before the loud fights that ended with quiet threats. Domestic betrayal does not break the heart all at once. It unthreads it, stitch by stitch, until one day you look down and cannot find your old self. A flight attendant in a neat bun touched my elbow, apology heavy in her eyes. "Madam, we need to close." The cabin door loomed. I swallowed and leaned near Timmy. "I'll see you in Accra. I promise." He nodded, brave. "Okay, Mummy." "Adana," Cunnell said, finally meeting my gaze. "Stop causing scene. Go home." I wanted to tell him about last night, about the voice notes on my phone, his laughter thick with drink as he bragged to a friend about parking money in Accra through fake invoices. Infidelity in marriage is one sin. Stealing from the city we both claimed we loved was another. The words sat behind my teeth like a secret weapon. "Not yet," I told myself. "Not here." I stepped down the metal stairs into the white Lagos sun. The door hissed shut with the same clean sound a counting machine makes. Through the oval window, Timmy pressed his palm to the glass. I pressed mine to air. Behind me, ground crew waved orange batons. A cart of Puff Puff and Suya rolled by, carried on the smoke of morning heat. In another life, this would have been a Nollywood scene for laughs and tears. In this life, it was my African marriage drama without a soundtrack. The engine spooled to a high whine, the jet taxied, and the men with the batons danced their silent choreography. On the concourse, people stared without staring. A security officer pretended to check his list and watched me instead. Public disgrace travels faster than any plane. I stood until the jet became a silver needle threading the sky, until the contrail thinned like chalk. My throat closed with a mother's fear. Not for me, but for the small chest inside that cabin. The chest that sometimes forgot how to open when air turned rough. Something inside me hardened and cooled. I took a breath, straightened my scarf, and walked toward the terminal. My sandals slapped the concrete. With every step I repeated, "You kicked a single mother off a plane. A few moments after you fly, you will regret it." The airport swallowed me. Polished floors, blinking boards, the language of travel spoken in beeps and wheels. I found a quiet corner by a window and opened my phone. The voice notes were still there, recorded by accident when my thumb brushed the screen in our kitchen last week. Cunnell's voice swaggered through my earphones. "Guy, nah small thing. I don park am for Accra. Who go check? EFCC day sleep." A laugh. Ice cracked inside me as the hiss of champagne punctuated his brag. Cheating spouse, crooked books, power plays, all the words I promised myself I would never have to use. I forwarded the files to my email and to a cloud folder, added Sola, the company accountant who still called me Madame Adana, to my list of people to contact, and then called Auntie Remy, the legal aid lawyer who had taught me how to breathe while the court took its slow steps. Auntie, he kicked me off the plane, I said. My voice shook, then steadied. He kept Timmy. They're flying to Accra. Remy did not gasp. She inhaled and turned her breath into power. Come, she said. Bring any evidence you have. We will file an emergency order. Co-parenting conflict is one thing. Removing you in public with a child who needs medical support is another. On the way to her office, Lagos performed itself. Danfo buses yelling destiny. A man selling belts by balancing the whole market on his head. Young girls with bead braids giggling as they crossed the zebra. I walked faster. Inside the small office, ceiling fans turned the hot air into something like kindness. Law students in white shirts looked up. The receptionist nodded. Auntie is waiting. Remy listened, stone still, her silver hair wrapped in deep green ankara. When I finished, she removed her glasses. Domestic betrayal has many masks, she said. Today it wore a wristwatch and boarded a plane. She rolled her chair to the computer. We'll notify immigration. We'll seek an order preventing travel with the child without your consent. Do you have anything that helps with credibility? I handed her my phone. She listened to Kunnel's brag. Her eyebrows climbed. And this, she said softly, is another court's business. While she typed, my phone buzzed again. An unknown number sent a video. A shaky clip recorded from the hangar. My pain caught and packaged. Caption: Man boots X off jet. Lagos. The comments scrolled fire. Disgrace. Protect single mothers. This revenge story will find him. I put a hand to my chest, not sure whether to cry or be grateful. Public disgrace can be cruel, but sometimes it is the only light that reaches rooms where power hides. Another ping. Kunnel's sister, Amaka, left a message in our family group chat. Is Adana with you? There is turbulence. Oh. Timmy is crying. The words blurred. For a moment the room tilted. Remy squeezed my hand. Breathe, Adana. This is what pilots train for. Then a voice note from Amaka, tinny with fear and cabin noise. Please, where's the inhaler? His breath is fast. Seatbelt sign is on. Kemi is looking for. Kunnel, check the pocket. I was already on my feet. I'm going back, I said. I'm going to the hangar. Remy nodded, eyes fierce. Go. I'll file. Call me when you reach. I ran. The city opened before me like a mouth. At the fence that keeps the public from the private world of planes, I clung to the chain links and tasted salt. An airport police truck streaked by with a blue scream. Behind it, an ambulance. A ground crewman shouted into a radio. 10 minutes. Prepare. 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a lifetime when your child is learning to breathe again. I closed my eyes and prayed in small words. God, hold the sky. It felt strange. Asking for peace while planning war, asking for mercy while gathering truth like arrows. But mothers know how to hold two things at once. A wind lifted, hot and impatient. The sky, wide as a promise, waited. I pictured Timmy's face turned toward a window, pictured his small fingers on the armrest, counted with him in my head. 1, 2, 3, press, breathe. Remembered the blue inhaler in the pocket because I had insisted even as Kunnel dismissed me like an overcautious nanny. Love is the checklist you never stop repeating. Love is the suitcase you pack with everything someone else forgets. A whisper moved through the security staff. They're coming back. I pressed my forehead to the fence and listened for the whine of a return. Somewhere out there a pilot guided pride down to ground. Somewhere out there a cheating spouse realized that power cannot strap in when panic stands up. Somewhere out there my boy needed his mother, not her permission. What would you do if you walked in on this? I ask you, watching from Houston, London, Nairobi, or right here in Lagos. Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. Because this is not only my story. It is the story of anyone who has ever been pushed aside and learned how to stand taller. The siren wailed again. The ground crew raised their batons. I lifted my chin. He had kicked a single mother off a plane. In a few moments after they flew, they would all regret it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this on African Tales and Narratives. What do you think happens next? Does the sky teach him faster than a judge? Comment below. File it now, Auntie. Before the wheels touch Accra. I burst into the legal aid office with airport dust on my sandals and Lagos noise still buzzing in my bones. Ceiling fans chopped the hot air. A radio murmured Afrobeats under whispers of clients waiting for their turn with justice. I didn't sit. Couldn't. The words kept pace with my pulse. He kicked me off the plane in front of our child. He called me single mother like an insult. He thinks power is a seatbelt. Auntie Remy rose from behind her desk, silver hair wrapped in forest green ankara, eyes that read truth faster than documents. Breathe first, Adana, she said gently. Then we move. I breathed 1, 2, 3, like I teach Timmy. My hands steadied enough to drop the voice notes and screenshots on her desk. He promised co-parenting. He did domestic betrayal in public. Timmy has mild asthma. Stress makes him forget how to breathe. Remy slid on her glasses and pressed play. Cunnell's late-night bragging filled the small room. Parked money in Accra? Who go check? She stopped the audio and tapped her keyboard. All business. We'll file an ex parte motion restricting travel with the child without your written consent until the court hears you. We'll notify immigration and Ghanaian authorities. We'll frame it as a pattern: emotional manipulation, coercive control, a cheating spouse using access to the child as leverage. Her words were a rope in a river. I clung. Thank you. A law student brought water. My throat was sand. Do you have the airline receipt and your custody order? Remy asked. Yes. I handed them over, edges soft from being touched when I needed courage. She read fast. Primary physical custody to you, liberal visitation to the father. Good. She typed. We'll attach the hangar video if we can authenticate it. My phone buzzed hard enough to jump. An unknown number. A thumbnail. My humiliation framed by a shaky lens. Captioned, #PlaneShame in Lagos. The clip played. My face. The flight attendant's hand on my elbow. Cunnell's voice. Single mothers should know their place. I tasted metal. Comments flooded like rainy season gutters. Public disgrace. Who raised this man? Protect women. Co-parenting conflict is not power play. I've survived infidelity in marriage. Never again. Remy leaned over, assessing like a surgeon. Viral helps when truth is on your side, she said quietly. But it can also inflame. Don't read the ones meant to wound. Another ping. Family group chat. Cunnell's sister, Amaka. Adana. Pick please. There is turbulence, oh. Timmy is scared. Then a shaky voice note. Cabin beep. Rustle of seatbelts. The wet sound of a child crying. Kemi's voice. Brittle. Where is the inhaler? Cunnell. Check the pocket. Check the pocket. I felt the world tilt. Remy caught my forearm. He will be okay, she said. Pilots train for bumps. You put the inhaler where it should be. Mothers always do. I need to be at the hangar, I said, already gathering my things. You go, she answered, fingers still moving. I'll file now. Immigration, airline, court registry. We'll also ping EFCC's tip line with what you gave me. Not accusation, preservation. Cheating the books is another face of domestic betrayal. I ran. Lagos met me with its orchestra. Horns arguing, Danfo conductors hanging out like flags, a hawker balancing 20 belts on his head, gospel harmonies from a stall where chilled sachet water sweated in a blue tub. Life kept living while mine tightened to a single thread stretched between earth and air. At the terminal fence, blue lights pulsed in the distance. An airport police pickup roared past, siren drilling the heat. Behind it, an ambulance. Ground staff in safety vests trotted, radios crackling. A man with orange batons shouted into a walkie, They're coming back. 10 minutes. Copy. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I pressed my forehead to the chain link and counted breaths the way I taught my son. On my left, a market woman selling plantain chips clucked her tongue. Men and their wa'ala, she murmured. I saw the video. African marriage drama too much. I managed a smile I didn't feel. Today it left the living room and boarded a jet. She nodded. God will shame wickedness, she said, not looking at me. Looking at the runway where small shapes turned into salvation. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Ngozi called. Girl, you're trending from Surulere to Seattle. People are calling for him to lose contracts. It's a revenge story in real time. I don't want fire for fire, I said. I want air for my child. You'll get both, she promised. Also, check your DMs. Someone named Sola sent a message. Accountant at Cunnell's firm. I opened the request. Sola's text blinked, nervous. Madam, I shouldn't, but conscience is heavy. There are transfers to shell companies. If EFCC asks, I can't lie. I can meet quietly. My fingers hovered. Another siren keened. After the plane lands, I typed. After I hold my son. Copy, he replied. The ground crew's radios hissed. 3 minutes, someone barked. A young mechanic stopped pacing to look at me. Are you? His mother, I said. The words steadied me like a handrail. He swallowed. My own mother raised 4 of us alone, he blurted. When men play with access, na God go judge. He squared his shoulders, as if bracing the plane with his small body. Through the heat shimmer, a white fuselage appeared like a returning dove. The jet floated, flared, kissed tarmac with a 2-step squeal. Tires smoked, spoilers lifted. It slowed, turned, taxied toward us. Behind the fence, people who had pretended not to stare now stared openly. Phone cameras up, mouths set. Public disgrace had invited an audience. Consequence likes witnesses. I pushed to the service gate with a small crowd. A cameraman from a local blog, 2 aunties in church lace, a boy in NYSC khaki. Security held us back with a palm up. Madam, wait, an officer said, gentle. Ambulance first. In those heartbeats, memory unspooled. Surulere hall lights on gold lace. The 2-room Yaba flat where love was pap and acre on the floor. The night I found a hotel receipt in 6 and he told me I was overthinking like women do. The morning I learned overthinking saves lives. Infidelity in marriage had many siblings. Contempt, gaslighting, threats disguised as advice. Now here we were, his power circling back with the landing gear down. The ambulance doors swung open, stretcher ready. The jet's door cracked, releasing hot air and the smell of fear. A flight attendant stepped out, her bun slightly undone. The same woman who had touched my elbow as I was pushed off. She looked right at me. Recognition flashed, then relief. She turned, disappeared, returned cradling my boy. Madam, she called, already moving fast. I surged, the officer lifting the barrier just enough. Timmy's arms were iron around her neck, his breaths high and fast. Not yet the panicked whistle, but close. His eyes found me and widened like dawn. Mummy, I'm here. My voice came from somewhere below my ribs. I'm here, baby. He reached, and the attendant put him into my arms as if she were handing over the core of the earth. The inhaler is in the seat pocket, she said, breathless. You told us. I thank God. I fished it out of his backpack because of course I had repacked it the second I stepped off the plane, second-guessing myself all the way to the terminal. Press, hold, count. His chest softened under my palm. The wheeze slid backward. A shadow fell. Cunnell stood there, face gray, tie crooked, arrogance burned off like mist. Behind him, Kemi hovered, sunglasses gone, mascara a bruise, cameras aimed. Red recording lights winked. Adana, he began, voice thin. Say it to the judge, I said softly, never taking my eyes off my son. And to the EFCC when they call. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The sirens had already said everything. A journalist shouted over the whir of the ambulance AC. Sir, did you remove your child's mother from the flight? People are calling this a case of domestic betrayal and public disgrace. Connell's mouth opened and closed. For once, no script came. Kemi reached for his sleeve. He shook her off without looking. Power plays that felt delicious behind tinted glass curdled in the sun. The paramedic squeezed my shoulder. He's stabilizing. We'll observe him at the clinic inside the airport. He looked at Connell. Sir, you can ride behind. No, I said, calm but steel. He will ride in his own car. I'll be with my son. Remy called right then, as if the law itself were watching. I put her on speaker. Her voice was cool water. Emergency order filed and served electronically. Airport has been notified. If he tries to board with Timmy again without your written consent, they will deny travel. EFCC acknowledged receipt of your audio. They will follow their process. Thank you, I whispered, emotion punching through the calm. Go with your son, she said. We continue tomorrow. Today, you mother. The stretcher door clanged shut. The crowd murmured blessings, curses, commentary. As the ambulance rolled, I cradled Timmy and pressed my forehead to his. He smelled like warm skin and recycled cabin air. His breath evened. My own followed. Through the rear window, I saw Connell standing alone on the tarmac, court papers already blooming on his phone, the internet writing his name in heat. This was no longer just my sorrow. It was a lesson with a city for a classroom. An African marriage drama had met a mother's steady hand and the bright stare of community. The ambulance siren rose and held. Ahead, the clinic doors slid open on cool light and clean corridors. Behind, a man who thought he owned the sky stood learning what ground feels like. Like this story and want more? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for African tales and narratives. What do you think happens next? Does the court move faster than the internet, or does the internet force the court to move? Comment below where you're watching from. The jet kissed the runway with a shriek, tires smoking like chalk on slate. Spoilers sprang up, air brakes flared, and the private craft shuddered to a halt as if pride itself had jammed the wheels. Orange-vested ground staff sprinted. A door popped, heat rushed out, and the same flight attendant who'd guided me off minutes earlier reappeared. Hair loosening, eyes wide, cradling my son like something cut from light. Mummy! Timmy's voice cracked the morning. I'm here. I folded him to my chest. His small ribs fluttered like a frightened bird. In, out, birthday candle breath, I murmured. Reaching for the inhaler, I tucked back into the backpack. Press, hold, count 1, 2, 3. The tight whistle at his throat softened by degrees. The paramedic's stethoscope danced over his skin. Then a quick nod. He's stabilizing. We'll observe him at the airport clinic. Behind us, footsteps scuffed. Connell loomed, tie skewed, face drained to a Lagos dust gray. He opened his mouth, closed it again when the red tally light of a camera winked at him. Somewhere in the small crowd, a woman in Ankara hissed, cheating spouse no day respect ground or sky. Another voice added, domestic betrayal in 4K, public disgrace coup. A police officer in blue strolled forward, hat tucked under his arm, formal even in the heat. Mr. Connell Ajayi? He held a thin envelope like a mirror. You've been served. Emergency order restricting travel with the minor. Effective immediately. Additionally, the EFCC requests your presence concerning certain financial transfers. Another envelope. Another mirror. The jaw I used to kiss tightened, then slackened. This is a witch hunt, Connell muttered, but the words fell wet and heavy, refusing to catch fire. Sir, do you admit you removed the child's mother from the flight? A blogger called, elbowing nearer. Viewers want to know. Co-parenting conflict or power play? I didn't wait for answers. I climbed into the ambulance with Timmy, the paramedic sealing the doors. Through the rear window, I caught a last slice of the runway. The gleam of a jet that had outrun nothing today. A man smaller than his shadow. Kemi hovering in smudged mascara, one hand pressed to her stomach as if holding a secret in place. Inside the clinic, cool air replaced the furnace. A nurse rolled a pulse oximeter onto Timmy's finger. pasted a cartoon sticker to his wrist, and kept her voice low the way gentle people do. "He'll be okay, madam. He needs rest, water, and no stress." She glanced toward the hallway. Closed the door. I sat on the narrow bed with my boy stretched across me like he had in babyhood. Outside, the city throbbed. Inside, monitors hummed a small, faithful song. When his breathing evened into sleep, I allowed my phone to wake. Ngozi, girl. #plain shame is everywhere. People are dragging him from Yaba to YouTube. Someone just recognized him as the Lekki contractor with swagger. Remy, emergency order filed and acknowledged. Immigration alerted. Airline notified. I also forwarded your audio to EFCC as preservation. Rest. I'll handle filings. Amaka, his sister, I'm sorry, Adana. He's stubborn like our father. I told him not to try you today. I'll come to the clinic if you permit. I typed back to Remy with steady thumbs. Thank you. Please request supervised visitation and arrears enforcement. To Amaka, you can come. Quietly. Then a new message landed like a stone in a bowl of water. An unknown number. Short and shaking. I am sorry. I didn't know he would do that to you. He said it was a joke until the door closed. Kemi. I stared at the text. My anger stood up, then sat back down like an old woman who'd learned better. I typed, "You stood beside him. Don't stand there again." Minutes later, the curtain swished. Kunnel's silhouette cut the light. Behind him, the officer lingered like a punctuation mark. Kunnel stepped inside and stopped at the sight of our son asleep. My hand splayed over the little back that rose and fell as if drawing the whole world in. He began, voice husked. "Careful," I said, barely above a whisper. "There's a child in this room." He nodded, swallowing. "Adana, I made a mistake." "One mistake," I said, eyes on my child, "is forgetting the milk. What you made is a pattern." The simple sentence landed with the weight of all the late nights labeled site inspection. The sweet perfumes that were not mine, the stolen funds laughing in a voice note, the humiliation pressed into my elbow by a flight attendant's sorry touch. He looked smaller than he had on any day of our marriage. "I'll pay the arrears," he offered quickly, as if money could fence the damage. "I'll do supervised visits. I'll start by apologizing to your son when he's awake," I said. "Then tell the truth to the EFCC when they call. After that, we'll discuss how a father earns trust, not just time." My voice was plain. I didn't raise it. I'd learned that in domestic betrayal, volume is often camouflage. Today, clarity was the weapon. He lifted a hand, and for a second I thought he might reach for me the way he used to reach for easy answers. Instead, he let it fall. "I'll be outside," he mumbled and left with the officer. A pair of men stitched to paper. When the door latched, I exhaled long and slow. Timmy stirred, floppy as boys are when sleep is bigger than fear. He breathed and I breathed. Another nurse came, checked numbers, smiled. "Madam, if all remains steady in 1 hour, you can take him home." Home. Our small acacia flat with its multiplications chart taped crookedly by the table and the bucket by the door and the window that catches the dawn like a bowl. I could see it as if the clinic wall were a curtain. I could smell the ifo riro I'd cook because greens taste like healing. I could hear the quiet after a storm. The phone vibrated again. A DM from Sola, the accountant, waited in the corner of the screen, a little red dot pulsing like a heartbeat. "I can bring documents," he'd written earlier. Now a follow-up. "Boss asked me to move funds last night. If I talk, I lose my job. But my conscience is not sleeping. Meet me tomorrow," I typed. "Somewhere open. Freedom Park Cafe. Noon." I felt the pivot click. Not rage but resolve. Not gossip but evidence. This wasn't only an African marriage drama anymore. It was a ledger, a courtroom, a lesson. Amaka slipped in, headscarf tied tight like she'd rushed. Her eyes were wet already. "Sister, forgive me for my brother," she said. "He is stubborn like hunger. That stubbornness nearly starved our son of air," I answered, but I pulled her into a brief hug anyway. Pain doesn't have to poison every touch. She bent over Timmy, kissed his forehead. "My champ," she whispered. "Auntie will take you to see Kent in Accra another day, when your mummy says yes." When she left, I turned my phone face down and let the room be only breath and beeping and the slow untwisting of a knot behind my ribs. A soft notification still seeped through like rain. Another think piece. Another clip. A client announcing suspension of contract pending review. Power is loud. Consequence is acquire. An hour later, discharge. The nurse handed me a small brown envelope of instructions and a bigger smile. "No drama," she warned kindly. "Keep the boys' world quiet." We stepped into the corridor. Connell stood at the far end, hands clasped as if in a prayer he didn't know how to pray. The officer had vanished, duty done. Kemi wasn't there. Maybe she had slipped into the city to harvest her own decisions. Connell took one step, then another. Can I carry him to the car?" he asked. I searched Timmy's face. He blinked at his father, thumb hovering near his mouth like a forgotten habit. He nodded once, solemn. Connell bent, lifted his son with a care that had come late but not never. "I'm sorry, champ," he whispered into a small ear. "Daddy's sorry." In the parking lot, Lagos heat reclaimed us. Petrol tang, hawkers offering chilled water, a radio warbling a high-life guitar line. I buckled Timmy into my back seat, pressed the inhaler into its pouch, checked the pouch again. The ritual that keeps mothers sane. Connell stood there like a man who had discovered the precise weight of a single minute. "I'll call Remy," he said, voice sanded down. "About arrears. About supervised visits." "Do that," I replied. "And answer the EFCC." He nodded. "I will." I slid behind the wheel and let the AC sigh over us. As I eased into traffic, a message flashed from an unknown contact. No name, only a screenshot of a bank transfer and a line of text. He moved 48 million Nigerian nairas through Shoreline Logistics at midnight. Ask Sola who owns it. My stomach dropped and hardened at once. The turn was sharper than I'd expected. The road ahead, clearer. At a red light, Timmy's sleepy voice lifted. "Mummy?" "Yes, my love. Are we still going to Accra?" "One day," I said, smiling at his reflection in the rearview. "When the sky is calm and the ground is honest." The light changed. Lagos surged. Above the city, planes stitched careful lines across the blue, each one a promise made with math and wind and respect. I drove toward our little flat, toward water to boil and greens to cut and a table where a boy would practice spellings while a woman drafted a new life with steady hands. Cliffhangers don't only happen in the air. Sometimes they happen at a kitchen table when a phone buzzes, a whistleblower waits at Freedom Park, and a mother decides whether to drop the match or light a lamp. Comment your thoughts on the betrayal. Should Adana take the evidence straight to EFCC, or use it to force a better custody and support deal first? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who loves a gripping revenge story and African marriage drama. What do you think happens next? Tell me below. Lagos woke up around me like a restless drum. Okadas threading gaps, Danfo conductors whistling destiny, vendors singing the virtues of oranges stacked in pyramids that would not survive a hard break. I walked Timmy to school with a fresh note clipped to his backpack. Keep inhaler inside side pocket. Triggers. Heat. Panic. Call mother immediately. He grinned at me at the gate, already caught in the orbit of friends and football chatter. Bye, mummy. He didn't look frightened anymore. Children shed yesterday like geckos shed tails. Mothers carry the tails in their handbags, just in case. Back in our small Acacia flat, I boiled water, set Gary to soak, and opened a folder on the table. The paper life domestic betrayal leaves behind. Custody order, hospital discharge, receipts, arrears calculations. I made neat piles because neat piles look like power. My phone lay face up, a watchful animal. I expected 3 kinds of calls. The lawyer's calm drumbeat, the accountant's whisper, and the other woman's tremor. Remy called first. Court set a hearing for next week. Unusually fast, she said, voice strong enough to lean on. Until then, the emergency order stands. No travel for Timmy without your written consent. Good, I said. Auntie, let's prepare to enforce child support arrears. He's always said money is men's business. Tell him courts have gender-neutral wallets, she replied dryly. We'll also seek a parenting course order. Emotional manipulation often hides as leadership. Judges prefer parents who can name their feelings without weaponizing them. She paused. How's your spirit? Steady, I said. Hungry for Ifo Riro and quiet. Eat, she advised. Then print everything you have. Digital is air, paper is brick. After we hung up, I put my body where my mouth was. Cooking, sweeping, making the bed tight enough to drum on. Housewives know this magic. Order outside makes order inside. As I folded Timmy's uniform for tomorrow, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Meet me. I have information. It read. The name Sola. Uncoiled in my stomach like a remembered smell. The firm's accountant. Quiet man. Eyes that had already apologized for things his boss made him do. Public place. I typed back. Freedom Park Cafe. Today, 4 p.m. He replied with the speed of a man who had been searching for courage and finally found a use for it. I will come. I know fit sleep. Next came a different tone, fragrant, brittle. It's Kemi. We need to talk, the message said. I stared at the name for a long breath. She'd advertised waist trainers to me on Instagram years before I knew her face would become a knife in my kitchen. About what? I asked. About what he told me to do. About the contracts. About you, she wrote. I didn't sign up for domestic betrayal that climbs into a jet. My boutique is getting bad reviews. His clients are calling me proud of wickedness. It's too much. Where? I typed, keeping my words thin. She offered a hotel lounge in Victoria Island, a place where glass is polished and deals are also polished until they look like better ideas. 2 p.m., she wrote. I'll bring proof. Fine, I said. My pulse ticked up. Trust is a muscle mine had torn. I wouldn't lift anything too heavy with it yet. By 1 o'clock, I was in a ride gliding over the third mainland bridge, lagoon glinting like coins too far down to grab. Street preachers with megaphones planted their words in the wind, and a hawker in a fake Barcelona jersey jogged between lanes with chilled water bags clinking like a small choir. In my lap, a hard plastic folder held paper copies of everything important, because printers fail at the worst times. The lounge smelled like wood polish and deals. Kemi arrived wrapped in a cream blazer and complicated feelings. Without sunglasses, her eyes looked younger and more tired. Thank you for coming, she said. Voice pitched low to avoid eavesdroppers that exist anyway. Say what you came to say, I replied, folding my hands so they wouldn't reveal the tremor my voice would not. She slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside, WhatsApp printouts. Kunnel coaching her on how to handle me. Call her dramatic, single mothers always want seen. Kunnel boasting about a minister's brother who could smooth permits for a warehouse on undeserving land. Kunnel mocking women's tears as oil for their engine. I read, line by line, the way one reads a doctor's report when a body you once loved has gone rogue. Why help me? I asked without looking up. Because I'm next, she said. Because yesterday I saw a child's breath becoming thinner while his father tried to look important. Because public disgrace does not pick only one house to live in, it rents by the cluster. She hesitated. I didn't know he could be cruel to a child. You stood beside him while he was cruel to me, I said, not unkind, only accurate. Her eyes glistened. I believed the story he told. You were bitter, you were blocking access, you were jealous. I see now. I am sorry. I can testify if needed. Keep your screenshots safe, I said, and keep yourself safer. Men who treat co-parenting like a weapon often treat lovers like witnesses they must manage. She swallowed. He's blaming me for the hashtag plain shame. Clients are backing away. I don't want to go down with him. Then step sideways, I said. Pack light. We parted with a truce made of thin thread and printer's ink. Outside, the hum of Six Life changed key. Office people streaming to late lunch, a tailor's apprentice pushing a machine across a crosswalk like a reluctant goat. a policeman blowing a whistle as if trying to blow the city back into line. At 4 p.m., Freedom Park's cafe carried the ghost of high life, the kind of saxophone that makes even bad news sound like a lesson. The open-air tables held journalists with notepads, tourists drinking cold malt, and a veteran who sold carved masks with stories attached. Sola sat tucked at the edge, back to a wall the way cautious men prefer. He stood when I approached. Up close, he looked like every careful accountant. Clean nails, plain shirt, eyes that count even when closed. "Madame Adana," he said, voice steadying as he spoke. "I can't keep quiet. Sleep no day come again." "What do you have?" I asked. He pushed a flash drive across the table as if it were contraband. Perhaps it was. Ledger extracts. Wire instructions. His orders, my timestamps. Shell companies paying shell companies. There's one, Shoreline Logistics, that is his cousin's, but it do nothing. He asked me to move 48 million Nigerian nairas at midnight after the video began to trend. He said, "Make it disappear before EFCC wakes." "They always wake," I murmured. He nodded, throat working. "I am afraid. If I talk, I lose job. But if I no talk, my soul go spoil." "Your soul is worth more than a job that requires blindness," I said gently, the way women speak when they remember their own cliff edges. "I will pass this to my lawyer. EFCC will ask you eventually. Be ready with truth." He dabbed his forehead with a folded handkerchief. "He calls you single mother like insult." It annoyed me. My mother raised 5 of us alone and kept our school fees paid with akara and stubbornness. I smiled then. Small, the way a wary cat might accept milk. "Tell your mother a stranger thanks her." We exchanged numbers and a distance that kept him safe. As I rose, my phone trembled again. Kunnel's name. I let it ring out. Immediately, a voice note arrived. His voice raw. "Adana, please. Let's talk. Not war." War had been his hobby. Peace his new audition. I didn't press play again. Traffic found me and kept me. In the car, I watched Lagos like television. The woman in a galley carrying a cooler on her head with the majesty of water. 2 boys chasing a tire down a side street. Laughter the same in every language. A billboard promising luxury apartments for visionary families. The kind that never include women like me in the renderings. My hand found the flash drive in my bag and stayed there, as if heat from my palm could brand it with purpose. At home, dusk collected itself in the corners of our flat. Timmy burst in with a worksheet full of neat letters. "Mummy, I got star." He pointed to the gold sticker as if it were a sunrise. We did the homework dance, spellings, a reading passage about market day, a picture he drew of a small plane with smiling faces, mine, his, and a stick man waving from the ground. Kunnel, I guess, though I didn't ask. I fried plantain and warmed yesterday's stew. Normal tasted like victory. When he slept, I spread Remy's to-do list on the table and layered today's evidence over it. Kemi's prints, Sola's drive, screenshots of bank transfers someone had already slid anonymously into my DMs, hungry for justice. Co-parenting conflict, public disgrace, infidelity in marriage. It all flowed now towards something more useful than rage. Consequence. At 9:13 p.m., my phone flashed a message from an unfamiliar international number. "Ms. Ajayi? This is Officer Mensah with Ghana's Financial Intelligence Center. We received a courtesy notice from your EFCC. Are you available for a brief call regarding transactions flagged here in Accra?" I stared at the screen while the fridge hummed and a generator coughed 2 buildings away. "Tomorrow morning," I typed. "Yes." I locked the door, checked the windows, and stood by Timmy's small, steady sleep. The night air smelled like fried fish and secrets. Somewhere across the city, Kemi folded clothes into a suitcase. Somewhere in Lekki, Kunnel rehearsed apologies in the mirror, forgetting you cannot charm a ledger. Somewhere in a pen-still office, Remy sharpened a pencil that had already written many men back into their correct sizes. The flash drive on my table looked like an innocent tooth. I slid it into a Ziploc, labeled it with today's date and the words, "Keep breathing." I turned off the light. Tomorrow would bring courts and calls, perhaps the first clean confession or the first dirty trick. I didn't know. I only knew this. The day he kicked me out of the plane, he thought he owned the sky. Tonight, I owned a roadmap, evidence, allies, and a boy who slept like the future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping African tales and narratives. Should Adana hand the flash drive straight to EFCC at dawn? Or meet Cunnel first and force a settlement that protects Timmy? Comment your strategy below. What happens next? The hotel lounge in Victoria Island looked like money had taught it how to breathe. Polished wood, low lamps, waiters that moved like quiet thoughts. Kemi arrived early, fingertips worrying the edge of a cream blazer the way a child worries a loose tooth. Without her sunglasses, she looked human, small, tired, a woman who had run out of mirrors that lie. "Thank you for coming," she said, voice tight. "I know I'm the last person you want to see." "You're not first or last," I replied, folding my hands on the table. "Just another page in the file." She flinched, then opened a manila envelope. Inside lay printed WhatsApp chats and screenshots. Cunnel's words reproduced in black and white like fingerprints. I read in silence. "Call her dramatic. Single mother's love scene. Minister's brother will clear the permit. Smile, babe. She will break. They always do." I let the papers sit between us like the third person in the room. "Why now?" Kemi's mouth trembled. "Yesterday in the plane." The way Timmy's breath sounded. "I didn't know he could be cruel to a child. He told me you were weaponizing co-parenting, that you blocked him. He said you were jealous." She swallowed. "I believed him. I wanted to believe him." "Belief is cheap," I said softly. "Breath is not." She nodded, shame and relief passing across her face like two clouds trading the sun. "He's blaming me for the hashtag plane shame," she added. "Clients are backing away from his company. My boutique is drowning in one-star reviews. I didn't sign up to be the villain in an African marriage drama trending from Lagos to London." "No one signs up," I said. "We just pick exits. This is yours. Keep copies somewhere he can't reach. If EFCC calls, tell the truth." She slid one last printout to me, an account name I recognized now from Sola's text, Shoreline Logistics. "He said it's clean," she whispered. "But money walked through it without leaving footprints." "Money always leaves a print," I said, tucking it into my plastic folder. "If not on paper, then on conscience." We parted with a quiet nod. No sisterhood, not yet, but a ceasefire with terms. Outside, 6 exhaled into afternoon. Generators coughing awake, office workers drifting towards suya stands, a street saxophone threading yi through honks and the salt of sea air. At Freedom Park by 4, Sola sat with his back to a wall and his courage zipped inside a small flash drive. He stood when he saw me, palms damp. "Madam Adana, I know fit sleep again." "You did the right thing by calling," I said. "What's on it?" "Ledger extracts, wire instructions, PDF approvals," he said, sliding the drive across like contraband. His voice notes to me, the timestamps I kept. 48 million Nigerian nairas moved at midnight after the video started trending, through Shoreline Logistics. That company day his cousin name, but nothing day moved there except paper. "EFCC will ask for these," I said. "You'll be protected as a cooperating witness." He laughed once, low and without joy. "Protected? In this place?" He rubbed his forehead with a folded handkerchief and looked up again. "But my mama no raise thief. She raised 5 of us selling akara and stubbornness. If I keep quiet, nah her name I go stain." I reached across the table, touched the back of his hand. A second, no more. "Your mother did well." He blinked hard, nodded, and left by the side gate, shoulders squared against a wind that hadn't started yet. I sat a moment longer under the jacaranda, purple petals freckling the ground like confetti after a small revolution. Domestic betrayal, infidelity in marriage, emotional manipulation. I said the keywords out loud, tasting the grit. They were no longer hashtags. They were exhibit labels. Remy called as my ride merged onto the bridge. "I've drafted the motion to enforce arrears and for supervised visitation," she said. "I'm also filing a notice that you will cooperate with ongoing financial investigations. It signals good faith." How did 6 go? 2 packets, I said. Screenshots from Kemi. Flash drive from Sola. Shoreline logistics again. Good. I'll mirror the drive tonight, then deliver to EFCC with a chain of custody letter. You keep the original with you until I confirm receipt. Paper is brick, remember. At home, dusk settled like a shawl. I warmed stew, sliced plantain, and turned the radio to a station that played old highlife. Timmy burst in with a gold star on his worksheet and the long day forgotten. We ate on the small table by the window, Lagos murmuring through the mosquito net, trader calls, motorcycle coughs, laughter that could have belonged to my neighbors or to ghosts. After homework, he curled against me with his book. 2 chapters, mummy, he bargained, and I surrendered. When he slept, mouth open like a small question, I arranged the new evidence on the table, took pictures, labeled folders. Brick by brick. A knock came at 8. I checked the peephole, then the chain. Connell. Alone. The corridor light cut hard angles across a face that had learned something it didn't want to learn. Adana, please, he said through the gap. I need to talk. I weighed the risk, slid the chain, opened the door just enough for honesty to enter and excuses to stay outside. He stepped into the sitting room and stopped dead at the sight of Timmy's small trainers under the chair. The multiplication table taped crookedly to the wall. The blue inhaler parked in its pouch beside the door like a quiet soldier. You were always organized, he said, and I heard his mind trying to soften the ground his feet had been made to walk. Organization is how single mothers survive, I replied. Say what you came to say. He took a breath that shivered. They suspended me today. EFCC froze my accounts. He tried a half-smile that didn't live long. Clients are saying they need distance during review. The company is convening an emergency board meeting. They might cut me loose. Consequences, I said. They keep time. I'll pay the arrears, he blurted. I'll do supervised visits. I'll apologize publicly if that helps you. Just, can we settle? Must you drag me through court and EFCC? Don't remix this as my sport, I said steady. You dragged yourself. The court is about Timmy's safety. EFCC is about the city's money. My terms haven't changed. Confession in court, restitution, parenting classes, and a co-parenting plan with no games. He paced the small room that used to terrify him with its lack of softness. You used to be kind. I am still kind, I said. That's why I am specific. He stopped by the window, stared at the night as if it could answer back. Will you ever forgive me? I will not let hatred eat me, I said, and that was all I owed. His mouth softened at the edges. For a second, I saw the man who carried Acura and jokes through our first apartment, the man who cried in the delivery room when Timmy sang his first thin song. Then he blinked, and the man who threw me off a plane came back. He looked at the table, saw the neat stacks, the manila folder labeled Court, Friday, the Ziploc with today's date. What's that? He asked. Brick, I said. For a better house. As if on cue, his phone vibrated. He glanced at it, grimaced. The board wants me in at 7 tomorrow. EFCC at noon. The judge at 10. My whole life is an appointment book now. Punctuality builds character, I said, and he almost laughed. He put a hand on the doorframe, the way one does when leaving a room one used to own. Supervised visit on Saturday? 2 hours, I said. I'll send the center address. He nodded, looked toward the bedroom where our son slept, and pressed his lips tight against the sound that wanted to be a sob. Good night, he said, and left with his pride folded small in his pocket. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was thick with everything that had been said and everything that had not. I turned the bolt, checked the windows, then sat with my back to the door and let the quiet soak in. The phone on the table lit the room with its small blue square of future. 2 messages waited. The first was from Remy. Received your scans. I'll meet EFCC by 8 a.m. with copies. Keep originals safe and out of your flat if possible. Men under pressure make foolish choices. The second carried no name, just a screenshot. A fresh bank transfer stamped 1947. Nigerian Naira 12 million routed from Shoreline Logistics to a new shell, Baycrest Holdings. Under it, a line of text. He is moving again. If he succeeds tonight, Accra will close its door in the morning. I stared at the numbers until they blurred. The game hadn't paused. It had changed speed. Somewhere, a laptop glowed in a dark room. Somewhere, a cousin picked up a call he should not pick up. Somewhere, a window of accountability narrowed and then narrowed again. I thumb-typed 3 words to Remy. He's moving funds. Then to Sola. Urgent. Can you freeze internally? Or flag? The typing dots bloomed, vanished, returned. Trying, Sola wrote. Board IT head is loyal to him. I will escalate to the CFO. Pray. As if Lagos heard the word, the light blinked. Nipa did one small wickedness. Then the inverter kicked in, and the bulb steadied. I stood, crossed to the bedroom, and watched my son sleep. Long lashes, open hand, breath easy. Sky calm, ground honest. I whispered. The vow a thread I tied around my own finger so I wouldn't forget. Someone knocked. 3 quick raps, official in their rhythm. I froze, checked the time, 9:54 p.m., and padded back to the peephole. A man in a navy jacket stood there with a clipboard, another behind him with a phone held chest-high like a badge. Through the door, I heard the first one clear his throat. Madam Adana Ajayi, he called. You have been served urgent application to very custody. Filed by Mr. Kunal Ajayi. Emergency hearing, 8 a.m. tomorrow. The paper flash-burned through the wood and found my chest. New betrayal. New battlefield. New cliff. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories on African tales and narratives. Should Adana fight the surprise motion at dawn or detour first to EFCC with the flash drive to stop the midnight transfers? Comment your strategy below. What would you do next?